Okay. Shall we start, sir? Dr. Abdul, sir? Yeah, okay. Babu, sir, you can start.
Yes, sir. 1 second. Sir, good evening to all of you. One and all present here for valedictory event of Global Higher Education Summit 2020. We are all happy and cherished at the valedictory function, day 6 of this event, organized by Center for Industrial Relations and Industry Academia Cell and Institute Innovation Council of AVIT, Aarupadai Institute of Technology, Constituent College of Vinayaka Mission Research Foundation, deemed to be University, Salem, India. On behalf of our management, Honorable Chancellor, Directors, Board Members, Vice Chancellor, Registrar, Principal, Vice Principals, Faculty, Students, and AVIT, on behalf of AVIT, I welcome you all for this valedictory event. I take this immense pleasure in welcoming our chief guest of today's function. We can say we have been very happy by his presence. On his busiest schedule, he has accepted our invitation and he is being present today for this valedictory session. Dr. Abdul Dewale Mohammed, founder and executive president of Africa Asia Scholars Global Network, AASGON, United Kingdom, who is going to deliver his session on the topic of global higher education scenario, which is the current need of the topic, which we are mostly interested to know about these things. And I also happy and welcoming our Dean, Faculty of Allied Health Sciences, Salem, Dr. Sendil Kumar sir, for this valedictory function. Welcome, sir, on representing our university. And I welcome Professor Prabhu, HOD Mechanical and IIT. Welcome, Prabhu. And I welcome my dear friend and the key person to organize this event, Lakshmi Mohan sir, who is known to all. He is the man who is able to connect Dr. Abdul Mohammed for AASGON for this event. Welcome, Lakshmi sir. I take few minutes for introduction of Abdul sir to this august audience. Sir, we have received 888 registrations all over the globe, and it consists of 30 members from Liberia, Nigeria, UK, USA, Switzerland, Sweden, and few more countries also. So I take this opportunity to introduce the chief guest and resource person for this valedictory function. Abdul Dewale Mohammed is a global strategic management, public relations, and marketing consultant, and prolific entrepreneur, renowned public speaker, mentor, author, publisher, and philanthropist. He was born on 4th July 1995, a British citizen and Nigerian birth, and is the founder and group executive president of Africa Asia Scholars Global Network, AASGON, the founder and executive chairman of Global South Economic Forum, GSEF. He is the founder of the Africa Arab Asia Pacific University President, FAAPUB, and ADM is a signatory to the United Nations Global Compact and member of UK Stakeholders for Sustainable Development, and affiliate member of the International Association of University, IAU, and member European Alliance for Innovation, EAI, strategic partner Danubis Academic Consortium, DAC, and advisory council member associate of the Association of University of Asia and the Pacific. He is a study campaigner of the Bandung Principle of 1955 Asia-Africa Conference and the South-South Cooperation and UN Sustainable Development Goals. He is an ADM's most recent report to the UN Secretary Council, Antonio Guterres, along with his proposal on measures required to rebuild the bricks of our fractured world, as proclaimed by World Economic Forum in 2018, can be obtained from his basic official website. As a nutshell, we can see he is an international popular philanthropist, educationalist, social worker, and he is having a good heart in supporting various students of Asian, African countries for supporting the scholarship, for making them to pursue their higher education in various levels. And he is a very active member, continuously involving in various government policies of various countries, not only in UK or African countries, across the globe. His advice has been taken unanimously, and he's been actively involving in to bridge the gap between the inequality of the South and North. We can say South-South. Sir is basically an exact person to bridge the gap between all those inequalities. And we are happy to be associated with Abdul sir for this wonderful interaction. And I welcome Abdul sir for this valedictory function of Global Higher Education Summit 2020. Now I hand over the session to Mr. Lakshmi Mohan sir. Then I request Dr. Sendil Kumar sir to have his few words. Yes, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you,
Good
sir.
evening to all. Doctor, please carry on, doctor. Your place is important.
Yeah. Good evening to all. It's a great honor for me to introduce and welcome Abdul Dewale Mohammed. I think half of 50% of the things has been already told by our Dr. Vijendra Babu, Vice Principal AVIT. So apart from that, I would like to mention few things like which I think is doing a lot of social activities also. So we are very happy to have such a versatile and highly intellectual person amongst us to talk about his achievement. Would take more than the time the whole session. So I'm giving an overview of it. Apart from this, Africa Asia Scholars Global Network, the founder and executive chairman of Global South Economic Forum, founder of Africa Arab Asia Pacific University President. He is a founder of African Child Association, the African Children's Strategic Alliance, and the ACA Social Enterprise as a children's rights advocate and social entrepreneur, well acknowledged by UK government. In 2005, Abdul established a multi-purpose social enterprise center in Westminster, the Art of City of London. He is a member of United Nations Global Compact, UNGC, member of UK Stakeholders for Sustainable Development, and already said by Dr. Vijendra Babu, is a member of IAU, European Alliance of Innovation, strategic partner, and advisory council member and associate of Association of University of Africa and Pacific, AUAP. He is very strong and close associate of Association of African Universities, AAU, representing United Kingdom, 10 countries in Southeast Asia and Africa. Abdul Mohammed was in 2012 appointed International Strategic Business and Marketing Consultant by the UN Head Office, New York, based World Energy Forum, WEF. So, and so on, there is no time to know about this achievement. So I would like to end this felicitation address by giving two quotes. One is, leadership is the capacity to translate vision into reality, said by Warren Bennis, scholar and leadership expert. And one more quote, a leader has a vision and conviction that a dream can be achieved. He inspires the power and the energy to get it done, said by Ralph Lauren. So today we are privileged to have an opportunity to listen to such a leader. On behalf of all joined here, I welcome you, sir, Dr. Abdul. And thanks for giving opportunity to give a felicitation address to Dr. Lakshmi Mohan, because without Lakshmi Mohan, this program would have not this much success as said by Dr. Vijay Babu. 800 hard people joined this program. And I think Dr. Abdul got introduced through Lakshmi Mohan only. So thanks Lakshmi Mohan sir for this wonderful program, and thanks to Dr. Vijay Babu for organizing this wonderful education summit. Thanks for inviting me to give a felicitation address. Thank you. Over to Lakshmi Mohan sir.
Thanks, Dr. Sendil, our Dean, and Dr. Vijendra Babu sir. Both are men of connectivity. Because of them only we got so many participants. I'm proud to welcome our today's chief guest, Dr. Abdul, President of AASGON. Thank you for your acceptance, my dear brother, big brother. Respected our University Health Sciences Dean, Dr. Sendil, Vice Principals, Dr. Vijendra Babu, Professor Rajashekar, and my dear best friend, Professor Prabhu, HODs from AVIT, and other institutions from Indian and other friendly nations. I take immense pleasure and proud to welcome you all for our Global Education Summit final day event. Thanks for the opportunity. Babu sir.
Yes, sir. As a one small announcement, sir, I take this opportunity to welcome our dear advisor and mentor, Dr. Kuldeep Charak, sir. He is now joined for this meeting. Director, Faculty of Management, Naushadri Group of Institutions from Pune. Kuldeep, sir, namaste. Welcome, sir.
Namaste, sir. Namaste.
Sir has given day 4 of the event, day 3 of the 4. And we are proud that the panel members who have delivered the session are once again attending, all are being following our summit. We see that how important, significant we are making a role on behalf of our university and institute as an connectivity of our faculty community. Welcome,
yes, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So nice of you.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you, present, sir.
Prabhu sir is there.
Yes, sir. Professor Prabhu. Yes.
Good evening, all present here. It's my immense pleasure to be part of this particular global summit. I really thank the organizer, Professor Dr. Vijayendra Babu and Mr. Lakshmi Mohan for including the Institutional Innovation Council, also a part of the organizer. Thanks, sir, for giving us such a wonderful opportunity. I also welcome our man of innovation creativity, Dr. Sendil Kumar from Allied Health Sciences. And my special welcome to our chief guest of the day, Dr. Abdul Dewale Mohammed, founder and executive president, Africa Asia Scholars Global Network, and Professor Kuldeep Charak from Saurashtra University, and all the participants. Very happy and just convey my wishes to all. To start up with this idea, I really thank the organizers, Vijayendra Babu sir and Lakshmi Mohan, to bring this, that is to have conduct this global summit, Global Higher Education Summit 2020 in this lockdown period. As we all know that the current scenario, creativity and innovation is the order of the day. Whatever the things that we do, even the routine things also, if we do it in with creativity and innovation, definitely that is noticed by all. So last, that is 1.5 month, AVIT, Aarupadai Institute of Technology, is doing lot of innovative webinars, FTP, workshops, symposium, and other activities. It's all happening because of these two persons. One is Professor Dr. Vijayendra Babu, and another one is Lakshmi Mohan. I have to tell that all this online webinars, FTP, are possible with even, to be frank, AVITs can conduct online workshops, FTP and webinars, everything without 2G and 4G also, but can't without Lakshmi Mohan ji. So Lakshmi Mohan ji is one person who is connecting all the people, that is eminent persons from North India, that is from all parts of India as well as all parts of the globe. So hereafter we can able to call Lakshmi Mohan ji. Ji means global Lakshmi Mohan. Okay, thanks sir for bringing all this connect. And to start up with 18th May, we started this particular global summit with that is Mohammed Qasim Khan. That is 3 years back, Lakshmi Mohan sir only has brought him to AVIT, and now IIT Mumbai Spoken Tutorial Center we established, and we got a good that is appreciation from that is Qasim sir for now he is not with that particular IIT Mumbai Spoken Tutorial, has gone to the next level. We have conducted that's where we started there is a lockdown. We conducted for 7 courses and almost 1,500 members have participated in that IIM Mumbai Spoken Tutorial FTP, and that is the person who started. He also explained about the free fiber open source softwares in education. That we started. Then we are shifted to that shift paradigm of higher education by Ripu Ranjan Sinha, Pro Vice Chancellor. Then on 20th, a man of eminent Professor Colonel N. Ramachandran, former Vice Chancellor, and Sandeep University, Maharashtra. He talked about outcome-based education, which is the need of the hour. Without whatever the students are learning, that we have to assess with what that is outcome, how he is going to utilize, how he is going to apply. So that is very, very important. Now, the education is compulsory that everyone should follow the outcome-based education. He has given a brief session on that. It was very useful for the faculty, fraternity, that is community. Next, COVID-19, the prevention beyond by Kuldeep S. Charak, who is joined us now in the control panel. Next, Dr. P. Tyagarajan, that is Madras Institute of Technology. He explained about the sustainability ecosystem for university industry collaboration. It's very, very important that university and industry collaborates, and only we can able to bring all that whatever I said about the creativity and innovation. Without their mentorship, without the support, it's very, very difficult. That ecosystem that we have to develop. Already AICT is coming up with that is MHRD is coming up with the Institutional Innovation Council and certain activities with the institution, that is innovation startup policy and all. But in addition to that, this industry institution linkage will provide the students and faculty to learn more things what's happening in the industry. That and all possible only with the people like Lakshmi Mohan and Vijendra Babu, who is having industry connect. Our institution is having a separate, I don't know how many institutions or how many universities will have this type of cell, like Industry Academy of Cell and the Center for Industry Relations. So we have developed, because our management, our top officials, top officials are very keen. They have realized that how important it is to have an industry connect. So that is the way that AVIT is progressing. With all this particular supports, with all the contacts, we are very happy to organize this particular global summit. Even the lockdown, lockdown means we have brought lot of people into AVIT, into this particular webinar. A lot of things have knowledge sharing has been done. A lot of shared. So it is this particular 40-60 days have made us to learn a lot of things. Those who are following us for the continuously for last 20-30 days, they know that what I am selling, that is, they can understand that what way that I am telling those things, because they have benefited out of that. Hope that it's not going to end. Even the lockdown closes also. Once the regular work starts also, then we'll have this new era of learning that through webinar and through this particular FTPs and through online. It will help us in there is a lot of time saving and also in terms of money also. So I hope I take this opportunity to welcome all and also thank the participants for continuously following us. I hope that in future also AVIT will conduct such programs with the help of all that what we have. Thank you for the.
Well said, well said, Professor Prabhu. You are the initiator. You are the initiator of our programs. You are a man of innovation and new ideas. You only initiated this kind of program in our campus. Your continuous follow-up will take up in good manner in future. Thank you, Prabhu.
I think Sir has produced about the summary of report except this program, a report of this global higher education event. Thanks, Professor Prabhu. Yes, sir. Now the stage is set to Dr. Abdul Mohammed, sir. We are all eagerly waiting for this day, this time, this moment. Yes, sir. Please welcome back.
Can you hear me all now? Good afternoon, all.
Hear you, sir.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon to everyone.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
It's a pleasure for me to be part of this this particular conference, which has been here the last few days. I will all protocol observed, because I have to mention names. I have to thank almost everybody, but notwithstanding, I'd like to mention the efforts of Professor Mohan, Professor Abdul, and also my very good friend, Professor Angel, for being very supportive to the organization. I'm glad that before the COVID, we already signed agreement to be partners. And when I was being invited to give this speech, because one of the things there is that I am one of those that dislike conferences. Because when I was in Siena at the International Universities Conference in 2016 in Italy, and that's where we have the gathering of all university presidents across the world. And I did say there, frankly, that we're all academic tourists, but however, we still need to talk. We need to talk as we're doing now. What matters is, what are the outcomes of some of the resolutions that come out of conferences? And I believe that this particular one that's been held the last couple of days will bring more meaning, because now we're going to a different world. with the COVID we had there, we all know that things have to be done differently, not only in the place of work, but also within our institutions. So initially I was like, maybe give just about the organization, what we've been doing. But because of time and also the quality of what you're doing over there, I felt it was important at least to make some notes and try to see how best we can come together, to look at solving the problem of education. Now, I put us. I think I've sent a document this morning or this afternoon before this session, and that will be useful, I hope, to all the participants of this event. And so what I first look at is to look at education itself, and I said the main function of university, education. And we all know that the roles that it plays is quite very vital for the development of any state. But then we also know that today, like I don't want to jump the gun, but if I go through the slides that I have here, I don't know whether the slides are being shown to our colleagues there. If they are, so I'll go through with the slides so that at least we can be able to see exactly what point we're trying to raise and what are the suggestions that will come from this discussion. Now, first thing is to look at the importance of education. It's upside down there. First of all, is to look at education. And then looking at education, we look at the provide professional training for high-level jobs as well as good income for those who are able to attain a higher level in education. Now, apart from having that, because I like to go straight, I don't know how many minutes I have, but briefly, I was able to talk about what education is all about, higher education, and what it means to society itself, and how it could help develop society. And then I try to say that education itself is a human right, but today, it's been a human right for ages, for years, but today is still, we don't say it's a privilege, but education is a privilege. So basically, what do we do then to ensure that the rights of human beings to education is maintained? So that is one of the issues I think we need to be looking at as we go about helping to change education. And education is not just a matter of just talking about the ones in higher education, because they go from children, and it depends on the knowledge they get from education, the way they've been brought up right from childhood, that will also dictate their lives when they go into higher institutions. So what I've looked at in my presentation here is to look at the fact that, number one, understanding that education is a privilege, but it shouldn't be. It should be the right of every human being, every child, every youth must be educated, because at the end of the day, it's for the betterment and development of society. So we need to straightly look very deeply, because I know that over the years, if you check the United Nations, I've always talked about no child left behind. It's been a slogan for decades now, but unfortunately, it beats me hollow, the fact that if we've been using the slogan, no child left behind, a lot of children are still left behind, because according to the UNESCO, we have almost about 264 million children who are out of school, 264 million. So if you then say, if we look at that data or statistics, then I think we know that we have a lot of work to do, and to see why are we not actually, well, like I said earlier, we have to be very realistic, because like I said, if education becomes it becomes a position where people who are well-to-do are the ones that can be able to get into education, even though we now know, which I'll come back to later, about digitalization of education, which is making it much easier in terms of cost effectiveness, and because it doesn't cost as much if you have to go online, education. So basically, huge benefits of higher education, we all know huge benefits, so there's not much to talk about, because there's so much said in conferences, and we don't have problems about policies. They're good policies, because experts, I've sat down many years and talk about how to solve problems, but the problems are still there. So we then wonder what is the problem. So which means that the point aspect is that when you don't have far-reaching policies, then definitely you only have a clique of people within society who benefit from what I would call quality education, and that also leads to bad leadership. So, and I've mentioned my documents there, which is available for everybody. If we can go to another, other slides, mention about importance of education, and then quality of education. We talk about human deprivation. So the human deprivation is still the fact that people are not actually getting that value, of, what we say value is value from governance. Because if you have good governance to ensure that all rights, are maintained for every citizen. But unfortunately, that's not the case now. So deprivation is there, and that itself is something that needs to be dealt with as we move on. Whether it's going to happen during my time, either during your time or during our generation, that's another question. But it depends on the way we go ahead now to handle education. We can change things around. And I will still, as I relate to my paper in front of you, I will be able to mention what actually our organization is doing. Because one of the things I always say, if you come over and speak about, and you criticize some people doing some programs and not getting there, I need to ask, what are you doing? Because we all have to put in something. Just like the AVIT University is doing now, trying to see how they can contribute towards changes in education. Similarly, we want to see what every organization, corporate bodies, governments are doing, because partnership is very key. I'll come to that also as we move on. Now, the human capacity development is a very key issue, because we realize that the development of children is right from childhood. The development of children from childhood. And it's not when they get to high school or university, then you now say, oh, how many children are we going to have that will be able to salvage society? It depends on how you've been able to train them as children. And I always say one thing, every child has a gift. And that gift in the child comes in the form of hobbies when they're children. And that's why you find that little kids who probably like sports, and when we have maybe games day, or when they have to have a sports event, when we have coaches for them. And those coaches and some of those young children, because they are coaches, mentors right from childhood, they end up either becoming into sports medicine, into boxing, table tennis, rock, name it, and they become highly professional, very successful in life. Well, I will ask questions. What about those children that don't like sports? What kind of coaches do we give them? Do we try to understand, the knowledge those kids already have in them, that we can help them to harness those potentials they have, so they can do greater things, and it will actually grow up when they get into higher education. So we have a lot of work to do from the ground level. So while we address the ground level, then we still have to look at the mid-level of the college, then we have to look at the higher level, and then see what happens. But already we know the disparity in education. And let me just quickly mention, even when it comes to leadership, when we have only few people who are becoming wealthy in society, then how can it reach to the larger number of people? I'm impressed the fact that at least China is doing some great things by having to alleviate poverty from most of their population. But then how do we also be, because it is a matter of partnership. We can learn from each other, because as long as we're committed and sincere to humanity, that is the only way we can change this round. So even there's still things to say about this COVID. So when we talk about human capacity development, it's helping to see the potentials of human being, and then see how they can be able to achieve those potentials as they grow old. At the moment now, we are not capacitating young children to become vibrant. And let me even go one of that. I think I'll go now to the structure of the university. What is the university? It's already mentioned what education is about, what the main function, and X, Y, Z. For end of the day, let's be very honest with ourselves. In the university, you have three sets of people. You have which is within the cadre of the lecturers. There are at least 15%, not more than 50%, all over the world, because we're talking about global. We have at least about 15% of these lecturers who are quite vibrant. They're very creative. But guess what? They're consultants to other governments, to private sector, to United Nations, and they only sit in university. Then we have another 15% of lecturers who envy these creative lecturers, and they want to also have the kind of connections they have outside the university. So you realize that that's 30%. So we have said, but not less than 50% of our lecturers are waiting for their retirement. So if that's the scenario that we have, what we expect of the children that come to university. So what we are saying, and to be able to solve this, we know, I remember I was invited to Brawijaya University in Indonesia to talk about this academic entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship is quite very important, but most universities don't even understand or really know, not that they don't understand, with all due respect, but how they can really be able to improve or harness that potentials in the students in order to turn into academic entrepreneurship. So the basis there is, if you have just about 50%, about 15% of lecturers who are very creative and can turn the whole university around, and these people are putting most of their efforts or concerns to, because today what we have, everybody's about survival. And when you put it about survival, then everybody's like, oh, I have to take care of myself, what's my business with others? But if we can resource this university, these creative university lecturers, give them as much as resources they require, but on the agreement that they would not be allowed to be consultants to outside the university. And then the other 15%, who also as vibrant as they are, but they lack the connection within us, we have 30%. Those 30% can motivate and be an incentive or inspire inspiration to the rest of the 50% university lecturers that we have. So we'll have a large number of university lecturers that can be able to work with our young people and make them to become very resourceful and very successful and build a different side. That's why you wonder, if COVID comes now, if the whole, one thing is that I always say, the world lacks nothing. The problem is that we have is about trust. We compete in a world that we should work together. End of the day, we all know that the world is for everyone. And nobody, no matter what, brought anything to this world, neither would anybody take anything out of this world. But what are we competing for? Why do we want to work together? If it's area of research, area of, what would I call it, development, the more we work together, the merrier for everyone. But at the moment now, it's everybody's, how can I survive? The same thing happens almost everywhere. And that's why you find the level where people in university will not really consider to give everything they have there because they have to survive and they have to look for other sources. So the government, institutions, corporate bodies involvement too, to help to ensure that these vibrant university students, teachers are given every resource they have. We'll come back to that in what do we do to be able to solve that. Because in 2018, like Davos, I've also mentioned, of recent, that we talk about COVID. I think, you see, unfortunately, and maybe I use this opportunity to say, we commiserate with all the people that have lost very lovely family ones during this COVID pandemic. It's unfortunate that people have lost their lives. It's unfortunate that even a lot of people are going to lose their jobs. But then one thing is a reawakening thing, which I see from this, what would I call it, this occurrence that has happened in our life. It has happened in our lifetime. It's happened in SARS. We all know about SARS. Now we're talking about COVID. The aspect is that this is something for all of us now to come together and say, look, and one of the things that I realized is this, or maybe that I noted of recent, is that even the UN Secretary General, they had mentioned about this will bring us to work more as partners, that partnership now. But can you just wonder that as we are looking for vaccines or whichever remedies to solve this problem of COVID, that each country, each government seems to be competing on who is going to produce a vaccine. Why can't we have resource scientists to come together on a global level and then be able to solve these problems? So we are on one hand talking about, let's partnership. And on the other hand, all the governments are now separately competing to look for answers. This is a concern. And this is a world where we say we have intellectuals. So I think that itself to be looked at to solve. And this is just like when you find, you said, that is something we have in ourselves. Because no matter what policies or what ideas we have to first think about ourselves. When I say ourselves, is that the human mind. How does the human mind operate in the society that we have today? And if we don't understand the way the human minds operate, if we don't understand the system, then we can never be the system. We cannot change society until we can sit down and say, how does the human mind or pray. It's like you talk about education. What about values? What about morals? How much do we teach about values and morals in universities? So education itself without knowledge and education are totally different things. So education and knowledge have to go together when you talk about developing human minds because education is about getting people to want better in society. So human capacity development goes a long way in that if we can, and one of our objectives of organization is about unlocking the wealth of universities. There's so much wealth in the universities. That's why they say when you go to the burial ground, that's why you find the quantum of resources have been buried because people that died, they've gone with all the knowledge, the resources that they have because society failed to be able to tap on these resources and make it to better the society. So the point we talk about human capacity development is very, very key. That's why I mentioned higher education and knowledge is quite very, very important. And all-inclusive education. I mentioned about the issue of looking at the issue of habits, discipline. How much discipline do our universities? We look at a lot of problems there. Discipline, and it also starts from parenting. Now with this COVID that we have, I've already mentioned earlier. I said let's turn the lockdown into redemption. Let's turn the lockdown. This is the time for us to reflect on not just our lives, but on society in general. This is a time for us to see the importance of education, the importance of parenting in education. This is when family, and it's not just left with each family. It's well even for the university or the college to work with the parents to find out during these 3 weeks or 4 weeks or 2 months of lockdown, how did you relate with your child in terms of development of that child? It's not leaving it just to school. So the parents play a very important role. And so we need to have a data, do a research, have a data on actually, how did the children fare in 2-3 weeks? Because we can't say because they're not in school or university, they're not learning. They are learning a lot. So we need to collect information data because that is going to help a lot to move on the students. So people say, oh, the kids have been out of school for 3-4 weeks. They've lost a lot. For God's sake, what do you think parenting is? When you don't value a woman who takes care of a child and you call her housewife, do you know she's taking care of a child that can be a leader tomorrow? It's an important job she's doing. But do we value it? That will come to a level where we don't value human beings. We don't value people. And that is why I come back to even Georgia of COVID when I mentioned about the deprivation. Here in the UK where I live, which is my home, I find a situation where it was not easy for the Prime Minister to succumb that all the other workers who are cleaners, who are what we call unskilled. You see, when you classify, some people as skilled and you classify some unskilled. During this COVID, could you believe the so-called unskilled were the ones saving the whole of society? Yet we don't value them. And that tells us about the orientation or the kind of human mind that we have. We need to really revisit about what is society itself. So, and you cannot blame this. And how do we do it? It's still the university, because most of the people that are in government, 99.9% or 100% are from the university. And unfortunately, when I was talking to students in India, when I was talking to them in Dubai, when I was talking to them even in the UK here at Kent University, all the children are not interested in politics, which is quite a sad thing. And I said it earlier, without the COVID, with the COVID now, because even look at the fourth industrial revolution, artificial intelligence, we need to really sit up and find out what are we going to be doing? Because when the artificial intelligence sinks into our society, then we now realize the importance, which I also addressed in my paper, because earlier I wasn't thinking I was going to, say much as I'm saying now, but just to give you a view about what we've been doing as an organization. But I just felt this is a very important conference. It's an important thing where we can take something up and make an impact on how we can start to make changes. Because there's no point just sitting down talking. End of the day, it's not a talk shop. But how can we be able to be, not for ourselves, for our generations, because we have failed our generations. But before we leave this world, how can our generation change things around? We have a challenge to this generation to see what can we do to change the lives of our children. Now, the mirage of skilled and unskilled workforce, I just said now, we turn them to classify unskilled, skilled. But when it comes to COVID, it's the so called unskilled who are already into poverty that are now saving the souls and lives of people. So how do you? Every job is important. Every work is important. It doesn't mean that you have to be a professor or you have to be a laborer. If a cleaner does not clean an environment, everybody there will die. Do we value them? We don't value them. So these are part of the problems we have in society. Everybody is important. And the more you give that to everybody, the more vibrant the society will be. So there are a lot of mistakes we are making. And let me say, for instance, if all we do is turn up our leaders, from either you go to Oxford, if you don't go to Oxford University, you don't go to Cambridge University, or you go to Harvard University, you can hardly be a minister or be a president or a prime minister. So if even in the United Nations, most leaders who come out of the government, even without very good track records, we turn them to become chairman or to head some systems within the United Nations. How much then you expect society to be? So if you have to go and get, we all know what it is to get to go to Harvard University, even if it's just for about 3-4 weeks or 6 months courses, and just get a certificate. You know how much it is. So what is education then? So education is it has become novel. And I've said something which we're also trying to do. I've said it when in 2018, and the World Economic Forum said about issue of we have a fractured world. Nobody will say we are not fractured world. So even one of the things that makes me, I just wonder how we think. We all panic about COVID. But when the World Economic Forum told us that we are in a fractured world, we never reacted. But whatever which my organization did at that time was we had to then call a meeting, because what we did, because it was for the first time in history, we had the UNICEF, I mean, not UNICEF, because we are a Secret United Nations Global Compact. And when we had, and for the first time in history, 48 years of 48 years of the World Economic Forum in Davos, the theme of the conference was about the fractured world. Even the Pope sent a message that there was need for us to try and far-reaching to the poor people. Whatever programs or policies that we make should be far-reaching. And however, at that meeting, for the first time in history, they had women to co-chair the whole event. And I think that was amazing. Because I believe one very gross fact, that women, that's why because after the event in the World Economic Forum, that was January 2018. So we called for a meeting at the UN Women. And on the 19th of July in New York, we sat down with the UN Women, and we do support the fact that we talk about equality of men and women. But I think women are far more than that. If you know the value of women are totally different from men, whether we like it or not. And I said it. If any man can raise his hand there, even at this meeting, and say, I was not born of a woman. The value of women, if we understand how they can multitask, how they can change society, and they bring every leader today, at least is being what would I call it? It's been brought up from a family, from a parent, from a woman. So that aspect there, we gave a proposal and gave a list of women leaders who come in the animal kingdom. We know how they protect their children. But we have a women all out there having good times. Our children, they're not at homes. I mean, they're homeless. Some of them are troubled. Some of them are highly disturbed, disaffected in society. But what are women doing? But that doesn't mean we leave it to only women. We're only saying that the women have to reawake about what their values in society. And from that process, we also understand some of the shortfalls or shortcomings or whatever, or the resources that United Nations have. The UN has to rely on government to fund them. So sometimes they're handicapped to be able to carry out proper projects, processes that can at least change society. So on the fractured world, efforts have been made. And there are three things which you've said. And teaching is very important when it comes to this area. But the first one we are trying to do is to ensure that at least reviewing the rule of law. Because in our international law, there's some areas that which we all believe are not disadvantaged to the poor people. And so reviewing the rule of law can help. We're not saying things can change in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10, 20 years. But let's start the process to look at laws that are not, protecting the whole society. I can give a very simple one, which is very, very important, which we're talking about ILO. The Higher List of Labor Organization, we've looked at the fact that, well, this comes from education. Because education, a lot of people have to, apart from their parents, some people have to work, get money, borrow money for them to get a degree. And then they come out and get a degree. They have to probably look for jobs, 15 times maybe looking for a job. And every time they go out looking for this job, they have to look well. And in that process, they also borrow more money. And then when they finally get a job, it takes 30 days before they get paid. Let's even forget the fact that you can be thrown out of that work. Even they spend maybe 3 months, 6 months, whatever, they can thrown out without any excuse, they can be taken off that job. That's okay. But the point is the fact that it takes you 30 days to even get paid. That is slavery. And a lot of people don't get out of perpetual debts just for the system that we created internationally. I think that needs to be reviewed. And even it takes common sense that after reviewing, after a lot of interviews or whatever with someone to know whether it fits into your project, into your company, and eventually you appoint that person to work for you, if you give 10% ahead to that person, that 10% probably could cut down his debts. And not only that, it will motivate him to help in increasing the productivity of that company. Indirectly, it does that. It makes common sense. But today, a lot of people are just in perpetual debts that they can never, ever be able to live their lives well. So these are some of the things. And the second aspect, so we talk about reviewing the rule of law, because we're looking at how to rebuild the bricks of the fractured world. It's about COVID. COVID is less than, people die, malaria, and all the rest of it every year. But the fractured world is much greater, worse than that, because what kind of life are we going to live for our generation? So when you look at the aspect of dealing with the society itself, by looking at the laws that are not protecting, like we said about education is the right of everybody for ages. UN is going to be 75 years old this year. We are still saying it, no child should be left behind. So what are we doing? Who are we talking to? What promises? And our children are looking at us and say, these people, are they serious? Are they committed? So the point aspect is the second value we're saying, which I said to the UN women. I said, let teachers be the highest paid anywhere in the world. If you plant a seed and you don't take care of it, what do you expect from that seed to come? So if we don't value our teachers, then what future are we? Do we value the future of society? No. So the point we're saying, which I said at the UN Women, and I said, look, I want it to be that during your time as the Under-Secretary General of this UN Women, I want to just make sure that at least 3/4 of the world, teachers at the highest paid. Oh, it's like, oh, what's Abdul talking about? But I said, excuse me, it's happening in Germany. When the lawyers and doctors are asking the chancellor that they should be paid more than teachers, what did she tell them? She told them one single thing. She asked, what is the justification for me to pay you more than those who made you? They couldn't speak. After all, who made the doctors, who made the lawyers, who made them? Teachers. So what is wrong with us? So if we start to make sure that we resource all teachers, mentors, and coaches and everything, then we can start thinking of developing society. That's the second one. Let's talk about some of the solutions now, the 3 ways in which to rebuild the bricks of fractured world. It's going to take 30, 40 years because the world is in terrible mess now, but it's going to take 30, 40 years, decades for us to do. But let's start that process. That's what we're asking for. Let's start that process. Very much overwhelming in terms of us coming together. So by January next year, we've already sent a proposal to Qatar Foundation. We're also looking at India. By next year, January, to mark International Year of Education, we shall bring all the presidents of all universities across developing countries together We have a program for the next 10 years. So it's not that just putting people together. In terms of what they will do from day one, we already sit down because we have a very high level think tank working on, and we're very flexible to ideas. So we welcome ideas to be able to at least fine tune whatever ideas that we put on the ground to ensure that at least we can start to deliver. So putting that forum together and ensuring that we can promote good practices, we believe we can achieve something. We can change things around. We can lay the foundation for change. So two ways we look at it. First is looking at the fractured world. If the world is fractured, then of course education is broken. And we're all seeing here the impartiality and deprivation within education itself. And the way we do is that old wine in a new bottle. We find the leaders. When leaders come from very privileged, it's good for leaders come from Oxford University, Harvard University, or Cambridge. But the point is, how much do they know the problem of the root, the grassroots? So the system in governance itself, because even the system of governance, we all say people go into politics and they say, oh, I want to change the society around. Of course, some of them have mean all the plan, meant what they want to do because they swing devoted to what they want to do. But unfortunately, that's not how the system works. We find where you find that the public servants themselves, the policy is there. And so whatever, how much you want to change society as a politician, you get there, the system grounds you. So there are a lot of things that we need to look at if we say we're talking about education. So we are now also asking through this medium, we're going to try and get UNESCO, International Labour Organization. UNESCO should lead. There's now need for a policy reform. I know some policy reform have been done over the years, but now with the artificial intelligence, with the fourth industrial revolution, and particularly with this COVID, because a lot of universities now is how do we get funds? How do we run? That's a very big problem. But one of the things I've said before, our job as an organization is to unlock the wealth of university, because even university, look, there's so much wealth in the university. And we're underutilizing the enormous wealth of the people we have in university. So when the United Nations was talking about population control, I never believed that population control. But the point is that we failed to be able to harness the population, the human population we have, to harness the potentials they have. That's the failure we have. Not that there are too many people. Look at the arable lands across Asia, Africa. Because one of this COVID, everybody's looking for food. Look at the land there. We are saying use this COVID to, as we get out of this COVID, let's try and promote and encourage young people to go into agriculture. And most importantly, is that even curriculum of education has to be changed. When artificial intelligence comes in, so we should be talking about creating, even lawyers are going to lose their jobs because everything is going to be online. So you have to now start thinking how creativity, arts, these are areas that we should be now promoting a curriculum in terms of young people being creative and doing things. But if it's going to be the way it's being, we're just going to be, when drones can deliver pizza, or driverless cars can just drive in and buy your things and bring it to your house. So this life is changing, and so we have to change with time, or else there'll be more people in poverty. Even at the moment now with COVID, there are a lot of people who are going more into poverty now. We know that. So before COVID, we know the state we are. Talk less now that we have now greater problems. So what we can do, we have to form. Nobody can do it alone. No government can do it alone. That's why I feel amazed they stop that the governments can competing to bring out a vaccine rather than for them to come together and bring the best scientists in this world. So there is an aligning thing there because there are people who are benefiting. If they're not benefiting, why can't we work together? So we need to start looking. But I tell you one thing, there are great people that come out of university. And those great people, most of them have been in very high level, influential institutions, organizations, in the UN, in government. But guess what? They get frustrated out of the system. Let's join hands together and look for those people. Let's not waste them. Let's bring them together, resource them, and then see how we can start to deliver for our children. I remember when Prince Charles said some time ago that he's going to be talking, he's going to see, he asked himself, what should I feel when my grandchildren ask me a question and ask me and say, what are you doing during your time for climate change? So that itself is what really makes him to get off the ground and say, I must contribute to this. And I always say one thing, we're all here, we're all important people. We all have greater things in ourselves. But what is there is that we never think outside the box. And the more we can start thinking of helping people, we always first think, who am I? We are greater people. Until we lay hands out, then we can see the greater strength that we have. Well, so we underrate ourselves by not reaching out to other people. And the more we start saying, let me care for those people, and I've said it, if you go to bed tonight and you can't say who you put a smile on his face, then your day is incomplete. So we need to start reviewing. So basically we're asking now, we should all be asking together, either we sign something, whatever, and UNESCO should lead, along with ILO, along with, what's it called, the World Bank. We must then be able to reform education. Let the UNESCO lead, because at the moment it's the only organization within UNESCO. And I've said one thing, because even though I'm here in England, and I know we have billions of people who are Africans, Asians, Arab, living in the diaspora, we bother about how they live their life, how they go about things, and how they can also be able to support organizations in different countries. So the aspect there is that we also look at it globally, because anything that happens, because we are two-thirds of the world. Developing countries are two-thirds of the world. And anything that we don't do right is going to affect the rest of the world. And if we do it right, it's going to also affect the rest of the world. So the more we all work together in order to achieve, the better for our children, for our society. So greater things I will say is if they can put the slide down a bit again, is for us to be able to ensure that, even like mentioned about cybernetic, about issue of, even in England, even in the UK, in America, there are people who cannot be able to afford internet to have enough data. So we know that. I'm talking about regarding issue of the changing, because we know the success of online education has been going on for years. You know, it's been promoted every year, but it is now something that most universities with this COVID are going to take on board to now go deeper into online education. But it's had disadvantages. What I've said, I don't know whether that's possible, because I'm not a technologist, but if we can produce a computer that doesn't need on electricity, can only work on batteries, then it will be a good facility. And also the corporate bodies, the government, they have the support to ensure that there is at least internet for every community. Not because, end of the day, if you invest, we're not investing in people. If you don't invest in people, what do you expect from them? We need to start investing in people. And the corporate bodies are there. And I give example also, you find that even the corporate bodies themselves. And corporate bodies are there to make money. They are there to do business. And it is not the job of government to do business. It's the private sector. So, and the private sector relies more on the people, because we are going to start, they make money from us, from the community. They look at the needs of the people, like I said, to universities. It takes, what would I call it, to be a successful person, you have to think of how to solve people's problems. And the more our institutions can send our young people out to go and look at the problems, sit down together. I remember Jack Ma. Jack Ma, he was not a technologist. Jack Ma brought some few friends around and whatever, and they started discussing how they can solve some problems. Maybe the one on the Facebook, they sat together and said, oh, look, how can you make people? And every day you can see how rich they are. So the more we send our young people to go and see, like this COVID now, there are a lot of problems now. So when there are a lot of problems, it means there are a lot of fortunes. A lot of people become much wealthier because they go now to start searching, and that's the job of research. Find out what are the problems people are going through now. There's quite a lot of them. Then how can we solve the problem? Bring people together, sit together, and let the private, after they come up with whatever ideas, or what would I call it, a proposal they have, then let's get the private sector to back that proposal. And at the end of the day, by the time they get out of university, they're creating jobs, because it's quite unfortunate that we have 50 people in classroom, and 45 of them are saying, when I come out, I'm going to look for a job. Who's going to create the jobs? And unfortunately, too, one of the things we also should make policy within university, that every lecturer must go out and do it and see what I call it, the way and go out to work. Because if people in university can also see how works are being done, because apart from university, when you teach people about human management. How do you manage people? How do you manage finance? How do you manage resources? Because if I'm a pharmacist, I'm interested in the pharmacy university or an institution. So why wouldn't I go and look for a job? Because that's the only thing I know. But if I'm being taught how to manage people, how to manage finances, then I'll be start thinking, how can I set up a business? So we have to change the manner, the curriculum and whatever that we have, ensuring that at least we're impacting on people to take the baton. It's just like a relay race. You have to pick up well, give the baton because you want the person to win, be the first. And that's the way it should be running. Not a matter of just cutting the middle, but how do we turn ourselves to make sure that everybody wants to be a winner through a relay race? So I have already discussed with the organizers, and I've said it's important that after this, the quantum of knowledge that has come out of proposals that have come out of this conference, of this summit, how we can be able to look at it and be able to come out with a publication. And if possible, those articles can be useful in our institutions across the world. Because example, if you look at the education, we know that there are quite a lot of things which Africa can benefit from Asia. The same thing, a lot of things that Asia can benefit from Africa. Similarly, they can benefit from the UK or America or Canada, whatever. So we need to start saying, how can the global society become more, what would I call it, how we can make it a more vibrant, not only vibrant, but at least be able to increase the level of wealth in our society. And like I said earlier, we have to look at it right from children, because children are very important, and how we can take from the children, and then they can be able to turn into greater things as they grow into our universities. So there's a lot of wealth in our universities. So if any university tells me we don't have resources, come to us. We will sit together, and I can tell you how we can change things around. And like I said, when we set up the FAPO, the Forum of Africa Arab Asia Pacific University President, we already have plans, which I said we're flexible to put in any new ideas that come in, but we have plans for the next 10, 20 years, which this body can start to change this around. It's just a mindset of change, to change our mindset. We all know everybody wants something in life. Of course, there's nothing wrong about it. But the more you can help people and put a smile on your own face, you're indirectly helping yourself. So basically, if you can go on the slide up again, please. So that was what if I go quickly on the slide so that so I don't bore you too much, I can go quickly on can you go on the next slide, please? That was the Pope about the foundation. That's the women that were brought together, vibrant women. Unfortunately, I told the US Under-Secretary General of United Nations Women, there was no single African woman among them. But that notwithstanding, but the point is, after this in 2018, what happened? Nothing. Whereas I told when the women were brought together is now to see how we can change and create the foundation. But that's not happening with the World Economic Forum. Can we go to the next slide, please? Now, that is the meeting. That was the meeting we had at the UN with the UN women. You know, that was 19th of July, 2018. And we also then saw that the UN needs a lot of support because, like I said, they all rely on government funding. So there's not much they can do. So that's why I say, if you want to build a system and you don't understand the system, you can't build the system. So you need to try and find out how the system works. And then say how you can, because at the end of the day, we're not competing. We're all working together to better the human society. Can we go next slide, please? Yeah, changes to education and restructuring. So I mentioned that if we don't value children, if you don't value children, if you don't value teachers, you don't value your child. That's all. It's just basic. If we value children, then we will value teachers. So we need to change. Then we are saying, give the teacher more policy. How can you be outside the school? I mean, it's happening here. Now we have in the UK now is that all children should go back, not all the children, but some of the children should go back to school in June 1. But the school union, education union are saying that give us the facts that makes you to say we should all go to school by 1st of June, because the pandemic is still there. So that is still an issue, So, but who decides? Do we discuss? Do we get the what do you call it? Do we get the reports or the statistics or whatever reports from the schools? So we need to get schools to be part of the policy that we make. Then we say you have to resource the teachers, and then teaching training program. Teachers have to be trained all the time. It happens in the UK, it happens in America. There's so much money put into education, and not only that, you have to make sure that you renew maybe every year, so that to ensure that people are quite okay or understanding about how they have to be able to relate with the young people. And I mentioned about variety of meaningful curriculum. I mentioned about curriculum. Can we go to the next one, please? And then the corporate and the community should work with the universities. You see, at the moment now, the universities would rather work with they'll pick most of the universities. I tell you that they pick a creative lecturer at a university, and then he does their research for them. But rather than work with the university, they pick, because business, the university, the corporate bodies are there to make profit. And if university is not making money, then why should they come and work with the whole university? But if the university itself is very vibrant, you see the corporate bodies working closely with them. So, and that is the only way it can work. And we need the corporate bodies, and only until when the universities are more creative, then you find more corporate bodies. So we don't lack money. We don't lack money at all. So these are areas that we need to look at. So I now look at even challenging facing global education, like here in British universities, let's even Brexit. Before COVID came, we were also looking at Brexit, and we know how it's going to affect, because a lot of foreign students come here in the UK. So we know that when Brexit comes, it's going to affect, most of the students. So before then, COVID came, and we believe that with the EU, we know that can we go to the next one, please? So the impact of COVID is going to really have a substantial obstacle to education itself. So we came up with an idea when we knew that the Brexit was coming, even before COVID. So 2017, we came with an idea that we should have what is called UCAP test. UCAP test is UK, Africa, Arab, Asia Business Technology Education Summit. And our plan was to do it at the large, what's it called, here in the UK, which is the largest conference center in the UK. So we had it in plan, it's still on, in order to be able to make sure that all the Arab, Asia countries and the UK can work together. And we know, because as a British, even though I was born as a Nigerian, but the point is I have to contribute. I live here, I pay my tax here to help to see that this country can be very vibrant, even under the Brexit, whatever. And that's why we felt, let's bring Africa, Arab, Asia, bring them together in the UK. And then through technology, education, and business, we can do a lot of things. So that is also on the partner of what we're doing. Can we have next slide, please? Now, the consequences and society at large compulsory for. So there are several reasons among even moving among borders. At the moment now, although some airlines are going to start operating from I think middle of June, we have here some of the airlines, and I think one or two are still moving some other countries. So the point aspect, I think that also brings me to the point, and here we also want to commiserate with the lost ones of, I think was yesterday in Pakistan, of the plane that came down. It's so horrible and unfortunate that we lose people in this ways. And the aircraft landed within the town. I mean, may the soul of those departed rest in peace. So the only thing we can do is to make the life better for others while they are gone. So the universities, if you go to the next one, the consequences, we all know about it. I mentioned about the consequences. Can we go to the next one? And I said we need to go into deeper reflections about society. So research funding is very important. With the amount, because a lot of countries are going to go into recession. We all know that because of some of the palliatives or whatever that's been given by the government to trying to ease the problem of people during the lockdown. But so it's going to affect about research funding. And I think this is where the university should be having more important meetings and collaboration with the corporate sector. And like I said, the more people have problems, the more there are businesses. Take it or leave it. There are more business because when people have problems, there's always a solution. So it is the job of the university to research and find out those solutions. And when you find a solution, the businesses are interested in it because they make money from the public. And even when I was invited by the IOD, Institute of Directors, I think was it last year, January last year? Yeah, I think it was January last year, where at in Mumbai on corporate social responsibility. And like I said, every company is doing, let me even give one, when I said, if I'm being asked to be in charge of a corporate, if I'm a corporate social responsibility, and I come and meet my boss, and I say, my boss, sir, I think those people need some help. We need to help them. You know what I'm going to tell that guy? I'm going to tell him that if you're telling me they need help, then I'm going to use your salary to go and take care of them. You know why I'm going to do that? Because there is nothing called charity. What that CSR corporate officer I've been employed should be doing is to tell me how to create and make life better for people there, so that when we make the money, we can now be able to do more. There's no free gift. So the aspect there is that corporate responsibility is an area where if companies can work together, they can now be able to do more. Not only doing things, but things that are meaningful, that can reach. And you know when you say teach teachers training, if you train teachers who can retrain other people, it goes a long way. And they say, don't teach me how to feed, don't give me feed, but teach me how, not only how to make the feed, but how to make the nets, you know, or even the boats. So the aspect there is that there's so much we need to be looking at when we, but like I said, we already have a plan. So we have a plan with FAPOP, and we're willing to work with any other institutions and organizations. This is going to be not just university president, but under them, there's going to be law, but it's going to be led by the university president across Africa, Arab, Asia. Can we go to the next slide, please? Now, appropriate investment, which I've mentioned earlier, which they will lack, which I said they should not lack. They shouldn't lack investment on teaching staff, infrastructure, technology, student, and facility necessary. So this area is very important. So how should we ensure that universities don't lack these particular areas? And not only that, you say when you talk about career guidance, about mentoring and personal welfare between institutions, they are very, very important. It's not a matter of just saying everybody should sit down, and even the mode of way we give education, even not only that, when you set exams for people, it's not everybody that can be very good at doing exams. I mean, ask, what's his name, the richest man in the world now, Bill Gates, or even Zuckerberg, the one of Facebook. They never finished school. They went out, and they were able to do research and areas of interest. So there's a lot we have to look at, that the more creative our students can be, the better. Some of them is very boring. Sometimes it's very boring to some of them. So we have to understand the mindset. So when we talk about career guidance, career counseling, these are very, very important tools within the university. That is very key. We have to look at it. We shouldn't lose that fact. Can we go to another one, please? Well, this is just about 2011. This takes me to this year. Oh my God. Is the 65th anniversary of the Asia-Africa Conference. 65th anniversary. In 1955, in April, 18th to 23rd of April in 1955 in Bandung, leaders of Africa, Asia, they came together, particularly area of political independence, economic independence. But guess what? Universities never ever educate and enlighten our young people that leaders of Africa, Asia wanted to come together as a bond to develop the developing countries. It was part of this we realized in 2010. 10 October 2010, that was how we created the Africa Asia Scholars Global Network. I said it was important to ensure that Africa Asia can, because we are almost similar. Either in India, they boil their okra. I mean, they fry okra. In Africa, they boil it. So there are some relationship in terms of culture, traditions, and the rest of it. And we felt that was very important. And we, from then, 2010, we started with Africa Asia Scholars Global Network. And the last one you saw was that document endorsement that came from then the ambassador of Indonesia in the UK. He sent a 4-page paper and said government should work with us. And that is one of the motivation that we had when we started this organization. Now, I've mentioned earlier about the FAPOP, Forum of Africa Arab Asia Pacific University President. That was Toyoshi Sato. who was then president of the IAUP. And it was at the 50th anniversary of, Oxford University in Oxford here. And at that meeting, they endorsed about Forum of Africa Vice President, which also motivated us. Can we have the next slide, please? And the second one, which I was on now, the letter that we got from the Arab Asian universities, oh my God, that was itself highly inspiring. That with our 300 universities, we shall support the creation of the Forum of Africa Arab Asian Vice President and the part of Africa Pacific University Leadership Global Awards. What else could we say? That is part of the things, because when you encourage people, encourage young people, you motivate them. It gives them that passion, it gives them that strength to be able to achieve, you know? So most of the time we have a program in front of, and one of the problems in society is this, and it happened in university too, in government. When somebody brings a proposal, the first thing we ever think about, where is the money? We forget that even money is useless with that idea. First thing is, how can that idea, how can it be translated into something greater? We don't look at that. It's first, where's the money? And that's why a lot of good ideas never get off the ground. But however, look at what we do. Everybody takes money to the bank. But a few people go there and collect it, and then they make profit, and then they put some money back in the bank, and the bank pays you peanuts. Why can't we create more people that will be able to know how to use finances and how to use the fund? This is a part of the things that university should be doing to enhance the minds of people. The next slide, please. That's the Asia Pacific universities. Can we go on the next slide, please? And that's the Asia Pacific University again, where I was pleased. It was a pleasure for me to serve on the board. They were very respected people, you know, and it's like a whole family, you know, and they really inspire me a lot. And I think I'd like to come on this level, apart from the Asia Pacific University, is what India itself. And if I say it now, say, how many of us, even on the, I don't know how many Indians are watching, or I know everybody coming from on this particular platform are all global, but I can point and say how many of the Indians there have even spent 39 hours by train in India. I have done it from Bhopal to Hyderabad. I took train back and forth 39 hours. And that made me to know about India. Because most of us, when we have an idea, we're too much in a hurry. We never believe that the more you learn, the more you study, the more you strengthen yourself and your commitment and your passion. And that itself helps you to move on and at the end of the day, achieve whatever you want to do. And not only that, I want to use this to also say that I am here in the UK. I don't have a tree planted in my name or the organization in Africa, but I have 3 trees planted in my name in India. So I believe a lot because I think I am great. I'm grateful to the Indian people. I'm very pleased the way they believe that we can work together in partnership. And I believe that everybody knows that India, it's, you know, well, we know that in future, even at the moment now, we talk about health, you talk about technology and some other area, we're trying to see how changes can be done about the quality of education in India. You know, that's another area they have to look at because we believe more on theories. We need to look more practicals in India. That's part of the foliage in the universities in India. So that area needs to be looked at in India to ensure that there are more practical lessons and quality education than just the fact that we just set up university everywhere. You know, everybody should have said you can join coalition to have quality university and just say, I must have my university, I must have my university. What's the point? You have to look at who are we turning up out of this university as alumni. Can we go to the next slide, please? Oh, that was still part of our research, the International Institute of Global Health. That was in Malaysia. To also see how things are being done and then see how we can work together. We have to do a lot of travels. Almost about 8 or 10 times every year, I have to get out of this country to just see what's happening in Arab, Africa, Asia, so that at least when we really come up with programs, we know that to a level, there are programs that can impact on the lives of people. Can I go to the next slide, please? Also, I come to the Chinese. That was because they normally invite me to some programs. So the government in China invited me to go and talk to investors in South Africa. And like I was like, oh, to go and talk to investors in South Africa, I'm more about unlocking the world of universities. You tell me to go and talk to investors in South Africa. So what did I do? So now we have what is called FOCAC. FOCAC is Forum of China Africa Cooperation, and on the basis, the administrators of that FOCAC is China. The other FOCAC there is China and South Africa. So South Africa and China sits on the board of how things are run between China and Africa. And then I look at even the diaspora where I exist, and I saw 4 million Chinese in Europe, and there are 6 million Chinese in America, United States. And then we have 15 million Chinese in Europe. I mean, Africans, 4 million Chinese in Europe. And then we have 50 million Africans in Europe. And then we have 45 million Afro-African Americans in America. But guess what? China is practically everywhere in Africa. But the Chinese that live in America or live in the UK, they don't relate. Or in Europe, they don't relate with the African. So that's another big story on the line that we work about. So we create what is called SADFA, Chino-Africa Diaspora Forum, so that we can act to promote good practices within China and Africa. So that's part of the things that we're also working on as an organization, because every part is very important, you know. So next slide, please. This was the pictures there you find was, I'll say the first one first, was when in 2011, was it 2011, when we had to collaborate with about some universities, and we went to 4 cities across Indonesia to be able to try and see how we can promote and advance this level of relationship between Africa, Arab and Asia. And I think it was amazing the kind of response that we got. And we have a very good friend of ours who initiated it. He's based in France, and he's doing very well promoting this, we call Bandung. Bandung was the flower city where the leaders met in 1955. This year, 65th anniversary, April, we're all in COVID, so it couldn't be done. But however, we cannot wait on government alone. We are the government. We put people there. So I don't know why we never realized that. We just succumb and agree, well, I don't know anything to the government. What are you talking about? For God's sake. And the more we are, the better they will also appreciate and be able to, they are human beings like us. But the more they see that we agree on something, they will listen. Like I said, the policymakers there, the public servants, at the moment, we need to educate. What is the university doing? Bring people to the university, let them educate them about what life is all about society, how much we can turn the government to greater things. But not the way things are going now. We can't distance from each other. We're all a family. Then the second day is about the World Economic Forum. I think in 2012, I was asked to represent 10 countries in Southeast Asia, and then to represent Africa, and then I was representing the whole of UK. And the first thing I did, because one of the things I say here, my fellow friends and colleagues, we all have great ideas, but the problem we have is the strategy. And like I said earlier too, we're almost sometimes in a hurry about doing things. So we need to sit down and develop and look at the best strategy we can take to achieve things, even if it's going to take 5 years. Just ensure that at least you're on top of it, and there are developments within your research, within your studies, and you're not just in one place, but you're learning something. And don't just abandon it, because it's only when you abandon that you fail. When you don't abandon, you continue and you achieve end of the day. And the process, people will join you and support you, and you become an achiever. You become a great achiever. So the point there, the first thing we did was straight away, I went and spoke with the ambassador for United Arab Emirates. And I said, look, I have been asked to represent your country. I wanted to invite Prince Charles and invite all the big corporate firms within here. After all, if I'm going to be ambassador of your country, I want to sell your country. Yeah, let's just do a cocktail reception here. But unfortunately, my good friend, the ambassador, he doesn't even know about the conference. But he said, if you go to Dubai and all of that, they say, I will do whatever you want. Well, we had the Olympics then in 2012. So when they wrote them from America that I was coming, and they were ready for me. When I go up there, I got some Olympic bands, the rest of it. And I was being told right there that by His Excellency there that they've invited 200 presidents across the world. And I said, excuse me, I represent in the UK. You invite 200 presidents across the world, and your ambassador doesn't know about your conference. Oh my God, they weren't happy about that. But however, and I said, my response, so it was a position where we almost like having a conflict there. And because, oh, we don't know you, we don't know the president of the World Economic Forum World Energy Forum in New York. We don't know about, and I said, oh, His Excellency, you are one of the poorest countries in the world some years back. Today, you're one of the richest. And I am, I commend, your leadership. All I'm asking, let's do the best conference ever held in the world. I bet you all the 5 points I raised were approved. And on the 19th of July, 2012, that is the picture you're seeing. That is the idea we created and I gave to the Dubai government, and they took it. If they were thinking about right there money first, we wouldn't have even done that. Idea without idea, money is useless. Let's bring ideas as much as possible, bring them on, because there are people who are looking for fun, who are looking for good ideas to fund. So COVID, with the pandemic we have now, with problems around now, I can tell you, a lot of people who are very creative, who are very spirited minded or whatever, they very highly productive, they can make, this can change their lives around. So let's use the university now, the cadre are the responsible to see the world out of this problem. No other institution has that challenge, is a university. And university should not say we're going to do it alone. They have to work together. They have to work with the corporate body. They have to work with the government. There's what is called a public-private partnership. This came out from government. Just like the United Nations said, no child should be left behind. But PPP is not working because there is no trust. Even the current chairman of the United Nations General Assembly is saying his own time for this year, unfortunately, we didn't know COVID was coming, is to be able to build trust. So we need to start trusting each other. We need to start believing in each other, because the more we are together, the better for us. So can we go to the next slide, please? So that is where we operate from, and from here in the UK. And with all our people there, like I said earlier, Dr. Mohan can be contacted. Any institutions that want to know more about what we're doing, how we can collaborate, I can assure you that there is no lack of funds. What we all lack mostly is good ideas. So we do not lack funding, and then with good ideas and partnership. The more we can partner and trust in each other, I can assure you, we have enormous funds to change society for better. So I think I want to use this, and questions I'm willing to because I don't want to take too much of your time, because I think you've given me some leverage with some time which we spent. So, and I hope I have not bored you, and I'm sure we're going to be meeting again and talking. But this is a time for us to remember those who have died through this pandemic. The only thing we can do is to try and make the life of other people better. That's the only thing we can give back. And like I said, nobody knows tomorrow. Nobody knows when it's coming back, whether it's going to come as the richest man on earth, or the wealthiest, the healthiest person on earth, or whether it's going to be the poorest rat on earth. But your heart, the goodness of you, will really lay the good bed for you to come up when you do have to come after this lifetime. Thank you.
It was an awesome session. It was an awesome
Thank
session,
you.
Doctor. Eye-open session for all of us. Babu sir, please.
Yes, sir. Sir, Dr. Abdullah, sir, wonderful session. It was really a global scenario. It's a total global scenario, which we had been missing as a part. As you covered about not only our whole over South-South collaborations, not only with Indian, not only in Chinese, across the thing, wherever you said underprivileged, we should be taking them to growing. As you said, the important takeaway, inclusivity. As well as we are being the inclusivity concept, we all together grow. So I hats off to you for making this important takeaway at this valedictory section of the Global Higher Education Summit. It's a very big lesson for us, as you said, to be humble, respect children, respect women. That's the key takeaway, where whatever we go, technology, wherever we go, that's a key moral which should come from our family, what we do, what we act, what not on preaching, what we do, our children learn. As you said, wonderful. As an elder person, as a senior academician, as a philanthropist and advisor, as you say, it's a godfather. We can say it's a godfather, sir. We are very happy. The inclusivity touches me more personal. And the second point, whatever you said is about the collaborations about African countries. The fund is not a problem. For us, that is the only hitching problem, how to collaborate on all those things. And we cherish the session, sir. We enjoyed the session. The participants are spreading all the positive responses. A single slide covers the global scenario. They're very happy. It's around 41 slides. You can see how much the impact of all those slides. And thanks for a wonderful presentation, sir. Few questions are there, sir. I think I can float from you. As for the kind information, out of 888 participants, we have 30 participants across from Iraq, Liberia, Switzerland, Sweden, US, South Africa, England, and various countries. And Christina Das from Switzerland, I think so. I am loving this session, and I am grateful to see that there are people like Dr. Abdul who have the vision of unity for what we are heard and taught education to promote the humanity to thrive, which is what is supposed to happen and not survival. We are one globally, and solutions emerge through bringing us together to the purpose of connection and God. Humanity is essential about being and not having. It's comments given by Christina Das. We are very happy. Thanks for your suggestion and your added value to this global scenario. As we started this event as a global higher education, we started from with respect to the open source software. Then we had shifted to shifting paradigm. Then we went to outcome-based education. Then we went to pandemic situation. Then about industry collaboration. Now as an inclusivity, as a holistic combination, now we are with you, sir, for a global scenario. Wonderful session, sir. Wonderful. We all changed and live, sir. I think one or two more questions are there. We can get into it, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. One second, sir. And so with respect to this, I have a few questions in general on representing the faculty community which were assembled here. What is the opportunity for our students to get into one semester abroad program or 2 semester abroad program, like collaborations of universities? One with respect to students, another one faculty exchange program. What is the opportunity and what is the availabilities to connect all those things, sir? We are very much happy to look it over it.
Yeah, thanks for your question, Professor Babu. In 2015, okay, in Thailand, we had the UAP, United University of Asia Pacific Universities Association. We had a conference there in Thailand, and that was when we initiated what we call ASEP, okay, which is called the Academic Career Culture Scholarship Exchange Program. Okay. And ever since then, we've been doing a bit of intensive research on how to be able to ensure that ASEP become a very strong entity to promote development within developing countries. Okay. And like I said earlier, you see, we look at things that we believe in doing things differently, knowing that the formats we already have are not working. So even the London School of Economics mentioned about the structures in place across the world are not working. Even the UN agrees that big organizations are not delivering, and also which comes to the level where we say the scientists today are not together and we can't even find a vaccine, and look at the world to a virus, has turned us into, I don't know. So we have a lot of problems, even though we know we have knowledge to solve this problem. So talking about, there's so many opportunities that this will be one of the things that the Forum of Africa, Arab, Asia Pacific University presidents are going to really work on, because we feel when we have the structure, then we can be able to plan very well and be able to monitor developments. Because like I said also earlier in this program, that I was telling university president they're all academic tourists, because at the end of the day, resolutions that come at the conferences, what have they done with it? And then one other thing, the problem with universities, which I tell you, which is everybody's, even the governments are doing the same problem, is that we will come this year and say, oh, hang on, what sort of team should we pick this year? Oh my God! Even the World Economic, even the World Economic Forum, the same problem. Like I said, in 2018, they came up with a fractured world. The second year, I thought we were going to continue to find problems. They come up with another thing. So with conferences, it's like, come to my conference, I come to yours. You know, rather than to look at, okay, we discussed this theme last year. Can we get papers from people to tell us what are the good practices out of that conference? What are the problems? So those are problems, those are practices. Let's bring them together so that we can, end of the day, find the solutions to, rather than just having a talk shop where people just talk, come another year, talk about, and when we say, oh, is there money from the UN or grants aids to support a particular idea, then we move away from what we're supposed to follow because we feel that's the way. I think those are something. So when we have exchange programs, this is a problem because it's not a matter of just sending people to go and do exchange or go to the university. We want to monitor what sort of impact they come out from such meetings, rather than just saying send them out and whatnot. So we are very much involved in saying that whatever ideas, I mean, it's done every year. Every university does exchange programs. It's done every time. But what we're still saying is that, where are we with education? Now, you see, there's so much to talk about. And if we cannot advance and increase the number of universities, quality universities like Oxford, like Cambridge and whatever, then it means that what exactly? So which means we have division. Some people are far less privileged. You know, as people, we don't appreciate people. We don't invest in them. So things needs to be, that's why I said, if we have strong-minded organized institutions like yours and some others, we can come up with something. And when we have FAPOP in place, which are all part of FAPOP, is that we can now get UNESCO, and we are going to be, because UNESCO is not just UNESCO, they are human beings. So we are going to orientate those human beings under UNESCO. We're going to make sure those in the UN do things the way it should be done. You know, if you see, every year we send our report to the UN. Our report is online. It could be found by anyone that is interested. Just put AASGON, AASGON and UNGC. AASGON, which is AASGON, and then United Nations Global Compact, UNGC. Our report is there. Last one we sent about 33 pages. The one we sent in 28th of March this year is about 30 pages. But it's not sort of a number of pages. All our projects that we plan are there. And changing the structures. We find it so hard to get a minister. I'm just, maybe all this I'm saying relates to what are the findings, what are the quality or outcome of all these things we're doing. So because if you want to patch, the wall is broken, and you say, let's go and patch it, then that wall is going to, why don't you just approve the whole thing and rebuild? Then you know it could stand for 50 years, or rather 100 years even. Or rather, we just say, let's go and patch it. That doesn't end. So what is patch up, go and do the change, go and do this, what actually? And then if we're going to send it to exchange, we have to know exactly what you can take back from that place. It's not a matter of just going there. Or if people are going to come to you, we're going to see what they're going to take and how they can impact the knowledge they get from you, impact it to more people who did not have the privilege. And probably, you know, when we go ahead, I'll probably talk about area of scholarship also. Go ahead, please.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for it.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your wonderful answer, sir. And one more takeaway, I want to just mention it. You have made very strong representation. Education is not a privilege. It's the right. Wonderful, sir. Which everybody should put into the mind. Education is a right. It's not a privilege. It should reach to all the members.
Oh, my brother, sorry to cut in. It's been there. It's not new from me.
No,
like I told you about, no child should be left behind. It's been there for ages. It's just that we're not honest to our human beings. We're not honest with ourselves. That is the problem we have. We need to change our orientation of the mind, the way we perceive life. We need to change it. Let's COVID, because let me tell you, people die every year. But the fact that COVID can catch up to people, noble rich people, then it becomes the problem of the world. If we're concerned about people that are dying because of poverty and the rest of it, nobody cares about it. But now because COVID does not know whether you are rich or poor, now because the governments are, everybody's not talking about COVID. This is hypocrisy.
Exactly. And Mr. Dr. David Niels Ponkumar, a really passionate and visionary, compassionate and broad-viewed person, mind-changing talk, changed the perspective of the global education. That was the feedback he has given about today's session. And Mr. Arun Rani has made a question: what impact of the education will bring to the students in terms of social competence? what impact the education will bring the students in terms of social competence, sir?
You see, first of all, you see, when you look at the media, you look at governments, you look at university, they're all, you know, what would I call it? They are all members of society. It's the way society, they all react the same society will react. So we all live in society, and if we don't, for instance, we tell the government is not investing in social infrastructure. And part of the deal is the government should now, even with the COVID now, should start investing into social infrastructure. The social infrastructure is very important, and that's why we said even within universities, we should not just be teaching, we teach about morals. And the morals is not something even you teach when you go to universities, right from childhood. It comes from parenting. How much relationship do you have with the social lives of our students? Somebody, okay, I'll give you an example. Recently, I was saying that in every institution, companies as well, and universities, we should have someone who will be responsible for looking at happiness of the people. That's why our organization took a big interest on the former king of Bhutan, because he talked about GDP. Okay. He tried, and he was the one that initiated that instead of having gross national GDP, let's have gross national happiness.
Exactly, sir.
And because when you have to what we call the value human life with GDP products, domestic product, rather than happiness of the people, then that's where we are. And we are looking at the possibility of ensuring that the GNA, which is the gross national happiness, will be taken to replace the GDP. It's been accepted by the United Nations. But what has happened ever since? We don't even know about it. So these are things there are good policies around. But the policies we have that are good are not being fully implemented or far-reaching to the people. You see, when this call it, you see, in the 2000 Millennium Development, do you remember when they said Millennium 2000? It was as if that was going to be the end of the world. But we're 20 years after Millennium now. Now we had Millennium 20 goals, 8 goals, 2000 to 2015. 8 goals. Under it, they put partnership. And even the records that came up from that particular 15 years is not something we should all be happy about. But however, in 2013, the UN created a big platform. They created a panel, and the Indonesian president, the Prime Minister of UK, and then they have the Liberian president to head a team to tell us, me and you, what is going to be, what they will give to us at the end of 2015 after the issue of the Millennium Development Goals. Oh my God. The government, the panel came up and said, renewed global partnership. And believe you me, that is what our organization is following. And we believe in it. The world lacks nothing. What we lack is trust and partnership. And the body from the UN panel says, renewed global partnership, people-centered policies. And we thought the government, the UN, is going to come out on that level, and guess what happened? We're talking about the social, as you've asked the question. Yes, and what happened from there? The UN came up with 3 goals. I mean, they now came with 17 goals. 8. We didn't even know where we are. 17 goals, and under it, they put partnership. Under it. Now, we had a meeting here because we are a member of the UK Stakeholder Sustainable Development, and with the UN Global Compact. We had a meeting here in the University of Westminster University, one of the university in London. Okay. And we now ask people to go on the board, go and paste out of the 17 goals. Go and paste which one you feel is of your own interest. This is including corporate firms. And everybody was going to all the other ones. Everybody left the partnership. So I have to call the UN guy who is the director here, and I say, hang on, what's going on? Do we all believe that what they have should be done was that people are working on climate change, people are working on what do you call it, different areas of subjects like in health society. What you could do is to let these people come together on various subjects they're doing, then let them tell us about their good practices in each of them, and then through that good practices, it will help to encourage those who don't believe in partnership to see that there is strength in partnership. But unfortunately, now we're talking about 17 goals and then put the partnership under it. And that is totally because even one of the what do you call it, the co-chair of the OWG, which was the working group of the UN, Soros' name is, he said, we have not even laid the foundation. You see there in the UN. We have not laid foundation even for with what we're talking about. So 2015, 2030 is the next 9 years. Because with this year, there's not much you can do, but next 9 years. So how can we make contribution? But unless we can come together like this, social, like you mentioned, which is letting the young people, because they are leaders of tomorrow. So that's why we said the structure we are trying to build as an organization is this. Most of the projects, which is also online with the UN report that we gave to the United Nations, we say, okay, if we're talking about trade, let me give you an example. My good friend is also, very, very, very useful, very helpful to what we're doing. He's one of those that motivate me as a person. He's the president of the Pan-African Chamber of Commerce. Nana, I was with him in Ghana not too long ago. He's also the president of the Ghana Chamber of Commerce. And I asked Nana, because 2015, the Chinese government sat with 54 heads of government in South Africa, and they put 60 billion to support Africa. I asked the president of the Pan-African Chamber of Commerce, I said, excuse me, I hope you were invited to that conference, because it's not for government to do business, it's for the corporate chamber. They never invited them to come. But however, it's now left to them for them to initiate ideas to make sure they can monitor and say that it's done. So that itself is there. So the aspect there is that there's a lot to be done, and unless we inculcate this mind into our young people in university, because they are the one that will take the baton. So like I said, the restructure we are creating is that we now said, okay, every program, if it's area of trade, because most of the advisors to ministers of trade have never traded before, but they're in university. So how can people who have never traded before be the ones that will give you a good policy? Let's be very honest with ourselves. So what we are saying is that let there be ministers, not ministers of trade, then you have presidents of chambers of commerce. They should meet and discuss and find ways to put better policy. When it comes to health, let's have ministers of health, health practitioners, and then we have also investors of colleges and medicine, so that they sit together and discuss policies. Rather, that's not happening. All over the world is not happening that way. So we failed it. But however, another cross-order, we tried to get ministers. When I traveled Bhopal to Hyderabad, it was to Ramoji Film City, because we wanted to have the first World Film Music Arts Award Festival. Because we believe that when you bring people together under social, it will help to develop understanding, appreciation of each other, and in that level, they can grow together in this sort of world. When we talk about globalization, it doesn't exist. It's only open on internet. That's why you fight globalization. So COVID now, with this way now, globalization is growing. But before, even on the level of interaction, it doesn't really happen when it comes to the thing. So the point we took from there was to have that conference in the, Ramoji Film City. But then we said, look, we cannot do this program without you getting the chief minister. Oh, they said they will get the chief minister. But they couldn't get the chief minister. And I said, if you don't get the chief minister, this program cannot go on. And then the next thing, what happened? My very good friend, Sanjay Roy, Teamwork Arts. He does a great work for the government in India. And then he said, look, you can't even have presidents to come into Ramoji, because Ramoji Film City is a bit far from the airport. Why don't you, let's have this program at IIT Delhi. And my good friend was with me, the president of the Pan-African, the president of the ISTE, Indian Center for Technical Education, because he was our guest here in London. About 2016, he was our guest here. So he was with me, with Sanjay Roy. So the following day, I walked to the IIT Delhi, and I'm very happy that we also have a very great guy who is a senior registrar on our platform on AASGON, who is also in IIT Delhi. And IIT Delhi, received very good we received from them. And from there, we now say, okay. And they have young people doing, they have, what they call it, the festival. They have it in October every year in IIT Delhi, which is a great thing. These are parts of socials that university does, and it helps also develop the minds of the young people. So that should be, reciprocated. That should also be done. I'm sure most universities, colleges also do that. And that's part of the things, socials that they do. We should encourage it, we should support it, and ensure that it can grow further.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Wonderful explanation. The feedback is given. You love, I mean, Dr. Mohammed, love your energy and passion, sir. So much inspired. Thank you so much from Sendil Kumar Rajapan has said that. And Mr. Dr. Amanullah has said, after attending the global summit, feel enriched myself with knowledge. Thank you for the resource persons and the organizers. Thank you, sir. Thank you for a wonderful session, sir. As I think Lakshmi Mohan, sir, can take it now. Yes, sir. Lakshmi, sir.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank you, Dr. Abdul. It was
You're welcome.
amazing. Yeah, it was an amazing session. Sendil Kumar sir said, our delegate Sendil Kumar sir said, rightly said, you deserve for standing ovation, sir.
Yes,
You
I think
deserve
we can stand up and make it. So
Yes,
make it up. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thanks for your presence, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
yes.
Thank you, sir.
I would like to extend my warm greetings and my sincere best wishes to AASGON. AASGON, we would like to extend our full support, wholehearted support to your AASGON new ventures, and I hope we can get good students admissions to Indian universities and colleges, and we can provide skill development training to African schools and colleges and general public people also. Okay,
Yeah,
you can
I say there was something that happened in one, I think was under the AUAP, National University of Asia Pacific, and I was very, very pleased with what they did. What they did was, at the conference, they now got a lot of other people to come in, and then they were signing MOU. That was great. And I'm glad that we already signed an MOU with you, with your institution. Now, when we sign, before we sign MOU, we look deeply. It's not a matter of just signing MOU. And what I told you as National University of Asia Pacific is that the next conference they're going to have, they should ask the experiences of the MOU they signed so that they can share with others, so as you can learn, not a matter of just signing an MOU, but to see how effective. And this, I think that was one of the things that, because if you remember, Professor Babu,
Yes,
that I sent you a different slide about 3-4 days ago,
Yeah.
and I spoke to you last night, and I said, that's the slide you are going to use. But I slept overnight, and I woke up very early this morning, about 6 o'clock. I had to start developing something. I said, look, you don't give this to these eminent people. You know, it has to be something that can advance the efforts you've put in, so that at least we can come up with some strong resolutions or points that we can take forward and can be worked on. So there is so much. And then on what Dr. Professor Mohan said, last year in Lucknow, and also in Lucknow and in Delhi, we were with the support and of Professor Sina. We had the Vice President of South Sudan, and we sat down. And even before then, with also a very good colleague, Sanjit Seth, we were able to get some universities to agree, and a very good friend, who the proprietor of one of these universities in Punjab, and we all agreed, and we were able to at least get at least about 100 scholarships from India for African students. And that is part of what we try to do. And we said, even though we have what to work with the government, the what do you call it, the External Affairs Government of India, because there is a department, ITC, I think, under a department under them, which has been promoting technical education between India and developing countries. So these are areas we look at things on a more larger level, and there's a program we have which is learning or something about within learn more to know more about India. So there's a lot of programs which you already have, but like I said, when we do something, we don't want to do it half-baked. We want to ensure we have the appropriate legitimacy, because like when we do the focus, I told you earlier, when we set up the SADFA, Chino Africa Diaspora Forum, I made sure that we get the approval from the ambassador of South Africa in London, so that when we get this legitimacy and endorsement, whatever we do can be. So like I told you, ITEC under the External Affairs of India. They've been doing a lot of work over 50 years, and they've been doing a lot of work. So we try to tally that around so that we can be able to ensure that there'll be more interaction, relationship between Africa and India. So the lot is going on there, and the lot is going to work out even by the time we set up FAPO.
I request our Vice Principal, Dr. Vijayendra Babu, deliver vote of thanks.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Lakshmi Mohan, sir. I am really cherished and honored to take this responsibility in thanking all those who has been supporting us for successful completion of our first venture of Global Higher Education Summit 2020. I first of all make my yes, sir.
Yeah, if I can come in, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir.
Christina, because mainly I thought about Christina, and I'm sure she's hearing me now.
Yeah.
Christina is representing us there in Geneva, in Switzerland.
Wow.
Because I said something. You see, when we all talk UN, and if you look at the last newsletter that we sent out, we're asking that now the G77 should be more proactive. Most of us probably don't even know how the G77 is the largest organization within the UN representing the developing countries. Okay. And we should be asking or demanding or trying to enlighten those that represent us in the UN, which is the G77. But when we are saying UN is for the whole world. So we should see that our G77 is more responsible to what we're doing. And where I mentioned about Christina, who's representing Geneva, is because we have what is called the UN Office of the SASA Corporation. So we're going to be dealing directly with them and dealing with G7 directly rather than just the umbrella UN. Because under it, you never get anywhere.
Super.
So, and I want to call on this to also Professor Moa is representing us a lot, the corporate level, supporting, and I really appreciate. Very soon we're going to have what do you call the digital television.
Yes,
so
sir,
we probably have a program, and that will be very, very interesting, well packaged, that you just love to see. And we said this is a place where if you're a scholar, if you don't visit, like you go to your Facebook or your Instagram, you just feel the day is not complete. So we're working on it. And to enlighten the minds of people. It's not going to be easy, but I know with people like you, we can try to lay the foundation for change. So anyone that's interested in whatever we're doing, please, I seek that you kindly get in touch with Professor Moa, and we are one. We are one family. And believe you me, we can do it. We can. Yes, we can. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Great word, sir. Gifted. This is gifted for me. I would like to spread to more than 20 plus countries, sir. Your TV, our TV, our AASGON TV will be published in all over 20 plus countries through me. You can spread through our delegates. It will be reaching more than 50 plus countries globally. I think globally. Best wishes for global television, sir. AASGON television. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, I think so. First of all, I thank the God for giving us the opportunity to host the event on behalf of Aarupadai Veedu Institute of Technology and Vinayaka Mission Research Foundation, deemed University, Salem, India, for this wonderful Global Higher Education Summit 2020. I sincerely thank our Honorable Chancellor, Dr. A.S. Ganesan, and our Madam Chancellor, Dr. Anuradha Ganesan, our Board of Governors, Samuel Sir, and our Principal, Dr. K.L. Shanmuganathan, and our Vice Chancellor, our Registrars, and our Vice Principals, and all senior faculty members, HODs, and students of AVIT for providing the great support in organizing this wonderful event. And my sincere thanks to all the panel members who have been present for all those 6 days, Mr. Mohammed Qasim, Dr. Ripuranjan Sinha, Colonel Professor Dr. N. Ramachandran, Dr. Kuldeep Charak, Dr. T. Tyagarajan, and today our Professor and Dr. Abdul Mohammed for accepting the invitation and making to happen this session. I want to make a point that 5,125 participants participated for all the 6 days of this event. I sincerely thank all the participants across the globe for making your presence of this COVID-19 situation in a pandemic situation to attend this wonderful event We sincerely thank you. And for one more information, and we had conducted 9 days international faculty development program for last week on disruptive technologies, and we had around 8,694 participants are connected through us, our AVIT and Vinayaka Mission Research Foundation, and we are happy. We are spreading our wings across the globe on a purposeful meaning and a focused agenda to bring this community to the higher level, to make the connectivity of industry, academia, human, social, and all those things which we are thinking that the outcome of this global higher education summit will be the one is the inclusivity, as you rightly said, and next it's about the right of education and women empowerment. It's the most important, and collaboration of industry and education, which is the need of the hour. Another important scenario is innovation. As long as the innovation goes, we can able to perceive ourselves, we can able to excel ourselves. This is a key point which you want to take it. And another important point, as whatever the pandemic situations are corona or COVID, we should be able to adapt to the situation, like online modes and how we are going to adapt to the situation. And it's about resetting ourselves. As you said, as in Bhutan is basically about not GDP, Global Happiness Index, GHI, and it's also a non-carbon emission, negative carbon emission. So we should take it as a takeaway that it should be of a global happiness spreading along with the technological development, as it should serve the society for a betterment, not only for education, for us to look it over. It's only sharing our knowledge, sharing our thoughts, taking for others, and as you said, win-win combination. As we win, you win, and we all together win. As the society, as the country, as the nation, we become stronger. I once again thank all the participants for their patient listening and for your attendance today. And I want to share a few words. The participation certificates will be reached you for before the next week, what is stipulated in the chat box, and pending certificates will be issued very soon. Once again, I thank our dear friends and our coordinator, Professor Lakshmi Mohan sir, who made this to spread across the globe, and all the friends of all the groups of social media to make it positively. And special thanks to Mr. Karthikeyan, Mr. Sam, and the web team, Mr. Sudan, Mr. Hari, and all the teaching and non-teaching faculty members who was directly or indirectly supporting us to make it happen. And special thanks to our Professor Dr. Sendil Kumar, Dean FAHS, which has made to happen. And my wholehearted thanks to Professor Syed sir, Director International Relations, who is the key person to organize the event in his WebEx mode. And special thanks to our IT Murugan head for Vinayaka Mission Research Foundation, Dean University. Once again, thank you, all of you. Be safe in home. Thank you. Thank you, Abdullah sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Babu sir, Dr. Babu sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Once again, I would like to thank our chief guest, Dr. Abdul. The great session, sir. We have learned and earned more. Thank you. Best wishes to your new ventures. Thank you. I would like to thank all our participants, delegates, and friends. Babu sir, this is a teamwork. Without
Yes,
team, again, our teamwork won.
Wonderful.
Our teamwork won. Thanks to our management, principal, directors, and professors, HODs, Karthik, Sam, and web team. Really wonderful session. Valedictory section inspired a lot to us. Thanks, sir. Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks.
Thanks, Professor Prabhu, for your presence and motivation and summarizing about all the reports as a part of Institution Innovation Council. Thanks, Prabhu, for all your kind support. Thank you.
And thank you,
Thanks,
Raj
sir.
Singh,
Thank you, sir.
especially Professor Raj Singh.
Thanks to Professor Rajasekhar, Vice President Admin, who is taking care of all the social media and with the University Affairs. He's a special person which has missed out it. Thanks, Professor Rajasekhar. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Be safe.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. I would like to thank Devakumar sir, Dr. Devakumar, Dr. Kuldeep sir, respected Kuldeep sir, respected Dr. Riburanjan Sinha, and AASGON team, AASGON members. Great salute to AASGON members. Thank you. Thanks a lot.